Venezuela is one of the oldest oil economies in the world. We have been producing oil ever since 1920, around 1920. That means that for almost a century we have been dealing with oil under different circumstances. There was a first time going from 1920 up to 1976 when the owner of the resource, that is to say the state, established relations with foreign companies that came to Venezuela to invest, to export, and to manage, in some sense, the oil industry. We nationalized the oil industry in 1976. For quite a few decades, there was no foreign investment in our main industry. And bit by bit, slowly, we have been returning to circumstances that makes one think that once again we have foreign investment in our main industry. I said a minute ago that the state is the owner of the resource. That means that the state in Venezuela receives, because of its ownership over the oil which is in the ground, an income. Strictly speaking, that income has to be named a rent. So we speak, properly speaking, oil rent, which means for the Venezuelan state a huge proportion of the incomes it receives for its ownership over the oil. This property over the oil marks the Venezuelan economy, Venezuelan society, in a very peculiar way. Being an oil economy, I should have to say, to make things clearer, not only Venezuela has oil, Mexico has oil, Colombia has oil, Ecuador has oil, Norway has oil, but they are not oil economies, strictly speaking. And they are not for a very simple reason, because oil for us is of such importance in the overall economy that unless we understand oil in its peculiar characteristics, we run the risk of not understanding what we are ever since the 20s in the last century. Venezuela has, looking at things today and vis-a-vis the future to come, the advantageous condition of being owner of huge, very, very large amounts of oil reserves in its ground. That means that for the coming 2 or 3 decades, Venezuela will be a supplier of oil, whereas other economies that nowadays have oil will disappear from the world oil market. We will stay there. In that sense, we have a very important role to play in the world market because we own important amounts of reserves that other countries do not have. And the world economy, at least for the time being, will be dependent on oil to a large extent.